Hello, Oz fans. I am Jane Albright behind the screen with a collectible edible Oz presentation, which is Talk About Oz Foods. My plans to take you on a 30-minute soup to nuts tour through a selection of food advertising, packaging, and promotions that use characters and themes from L. Frank Baum's classic fairy tale, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I'll also share a couple Oz places at the close. Just to be clear, I'm not here to tell you about all the food and drink from Oz parties, like the celebration of the 1902 musical, or the foods found in the Oz books where characters gather to celebrate. A few mentions, yes, but my primary focus is on materials that can be found in Oz collections today, some of the fun and unusual things that you too can find if you're in the right place in the right time. Among food-related things in my own collection, this little cookie box is the oldest. In the original stage musical, Dorothy's companion in Oz is not Toto. She went to Oz with her pet cow, Imogen. You can see Imogen in the lower right-hand corner of this stage production poster, and Dorothy's arm is around her on the cookie box, which is how I knew the box was associated with the show. Other boxes have surfaced in a number of variants. Mine shows Dorothy discovering the Scarecrow. A little panel on the side of the box unfolds to open like a door. Closed, the Scarecrow is hanging on his pole. Inside, he's on the ground, bowing to Dorothy. Other boxes I've seen show the lion looking ferocious, then crying, and the wizard being discovered behind the curtain. The first major food brand to promote Oz was Jello brand gelatin. The Wizard of Oz Collector's Treasury pictures this point-of-purchase display piece promoting the Wizard of Oz radio program. The show was broadcast on the NBC network across the country in 1933 and 34. Each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the 15-minute-long episodes aired with 12-year-old Nancy Kelly as Dorothy. One fun bit of trivia from the radio show was the casting of Agnes Moorehead as Mombi the witch. She was other characters too. Radio performers regularly played multiple characters. But Moorehead was Mombi again in 1960 for Shirley Temple's storybook production of The Land of Oz. From there, she became one of the most famous of television witches, in Dora, the mother of Samantha Stevens in the long-running hit series Bewitched. Print advertisements for the radio show featured Neil-like pictures of the Tin Woodman, Jack Pumpkinhead, Tick-Tock, and the Scarecrow. They included Jello recipes and listed when and where kids could hear the show. Kids could send in coupons to get what we collectors refer to as the Jello edition Little Wizard stories. The coupon itself was written as a letter from Dorothy. Kids could order 4 books over the course of the promotion. Terms varied, but generally you got them by sending in Jello box fronts. These are small paperback books that reprinted some earlier Baum stories. On the back of each one, you see the Scarecrow and Tinman carrying a great tray loaded with Jello. There are Jello recipes inside the back of each book. Although no recordings from the radio program have survived, the scripts and publicity photos have, and these fun premiums give us collectibles today. While we're talking about these little books, if you find the same paperback books but without the Jello advertising, they would be from their earlier 1932 release, where they were paired with jigsaw puzzles. Earlier still, in 1913, they were released as small hardback books. Before we move on from Jello, I wanted to mention the other brand, because it too has an Oz collectible. Royal Gelatin and Royal Baking Powder were advertised in these 4 paperback booklets. They were written anonymously by Ruth Plumley Thompson, the author who continued the Oz series after Baum's death. A second major category for Oz food collectibles is peanut butter. More specifically, Swift's Oz, the delicious peanut spread. For this presentation, I'll pair jelly with it since they go together. Oz peanut butter quickly became a significant category in Oz collecting because there is so much of it. This early jar, for instance, came with 4 different colored lids, and you can see 2 different labels between the sample and the advertising. It first popped up right after the MGM film was released with this tin can. All 3 of these are the 12-ounce size, but a larger tin was advertised. Here's also a larger tin designed to double as a sand pail. The detail of the tin lid in the middle shows the Tin Man with his smooth sign, and you might not be able to read that label on the lower right. That was used when the product was sold in Germany. 3 friends of mine have samples of that German jar, but I have not yet made that list myself. Collectors turn up glass jars in various sizes with ever-changing label designs. My friend and fellow Oz collector David Lee recently turned up this advertising piece designed to hang on a grocer's shelf. A small recipe book, a coloring book, mechanical pencils in a variety of colors, and a mobile that could be punched out and assembled to hang were all offered. My pencil was a present from Freddie Fogarty, who has an incredible Oz peanut butter collection. He tells you much more about it than I do in a To Oz presentation here on this website. Individual character glasses from Swift's peanut butter were used by the Jewel grocery chain to package assorted fruit-flavored jelly. But the most popular Oz jelly connection is no doubt the promotion run by Smucker's. In 1985, with the release of Disney's live-action film Return to Oz, kids could send in their $4.95 with some number of Smucker's labels. I'm sorry, I don't have an original ad to check and see exactly how many labels. But one way or the other, with labels in $4.95, you would get these plush character hand puppets of the Scarecrow, the Tick-Tock, and the Gump. Or, as he's often described on eBay, the Green Moose. With peanut butter and jelly covered, let's move on to all things baked, starting with the third of the best-known Oz food promotions. Dunkin Donuts dubbed their donut holes Dunkin Munchkins back in 1972. And since no one's punching holes in dough to make donut holes anymore, they call them donut treats. There have been a few memorable packaging variants. The lenticular credit card up in the corner was an image I grabbed online. I don't have one of those, but the artwork is tied to the Munchkin packaging on the left and the milk carton on the right. The central toy and bucket show the first packaging that I remember. The stuffed fabric doll design was also produced as an inflatable toy. By the time Return to Oz rolled around in 1985, Dunkin offered their Munchkins in Return to Oz packaging. And I inset one of my favorite Dunkin Munchkin images. Those are MGM cast member Munchkins, Gus Wayne, Margaret Pellegrini, and Fern Formica having a cup of Dunkin coffee. The ladies, you'll note, are in costume. I saved the Dunkin Munchkin lunchbox for last only because it makes a good segue for the only other lunchboxes I'm dropping into this program today. The first Oz lunchboxes appeared growing on lunchbox trees in Ozma of Oz, Baum's book of 1907. The tree was memorably depicted in Return to Oz. Occasionally, prop lunch pails from that scene have been sold in the film memorabilia market, with bidding racing into the thousands of dollars. More affordably, 2 mass-produced lunchboxes easily found by collectors include a domed metal box featuring Oz character artwork by Eric Schanauer, and a 50th anniversary lunchbox and thermos sold in 1989 as a licensed product honoring the MGM film. You also might turn up the Tinman funnel cake mix. I bought 400 of these back in 2000 to give everyone who attended the Oz Club Centennial Convention in Bloomington, Indiana. A Kansas company made them for local tourist trade. I've seen them pretty often, and if you have one, I would strongly encourage you not to whip up a batch. Pancake batter, which is basically what's in the squeeze bottle, is not something that stands the test of time. In case you can't tell from the reflection with that background, the label is metallic silver. I added popcorn to this section because technically it's a grain. These are 2 of the character box designs that held popcorn from the concession stand at the Wizard of Oz on Ice back in 1995. Going further back, the state of Kansas used the Land of Oz as its tourism slogan in the 1980s. I happened to hang on to a package of microwavable popcorn sold with the logo. The Jiffy Pop packaging is older still. It promoted the television show Off to See the Wizard that aired on ABC in 1967 and 68. I've not mentioned any bread products, so here's one. Tommy Tasty promoted Tasty Brand Enriched Bread. This little coloring book takes kids through the bread making process. Tommy and his Oz friends eventually discover that the secret to living happily ever after in Oz is eating all of the enriched white bread one can imagine. Who knew? An especially early serial collectible is this 1906 Eggo drawing book. This is the only sample I've seen. It's in Willard Carroll's collection. The back page is a rather primitive illustration of the Tin Man and Scarecrow from the original Broadway extravaganza with the line, "I wish we were really and truly alive so we could eat some of that good Eggo and EC corn." While turn-of-the-century cereal has the stage, let me throw this into the mix. Before L. Frank Baum even wrote The Wizard of Oz, he wrote Mother Goose in prose. Pettyjohn's breakfast cereal ran a mail-in promotion for Mother Goose that sent consumers booklets of individual stories. The ads are easy to find, the booklets are exceptionally scarce. But back to Oz. Another collectible baked treasure that I've only seen in Willard's extraordinary collection is this package for scooter pies, sort of a chocolate-covered sandwich cookie with marshmallow filling. Like the Jiffy Pop you saw earlier, this product promotes the Off to See the Wizard cartoon. Printed plastic hand puppets were packaged inside. There are all kinds of options on the market for cupcake toppers, but I wanted to mention these two. They're the only ones I know of that have really been mass-produced and licensed and advertised as cupcake toppers. The Ruby Slipper functions like a plastic paperclip, but I've now been served it 3 times on a cupcake, and the portraits on the right are plastic rings. I guess you're expected to lick off the icing and wear them. We'd be here all day if I started showing you great birthday cakes, but these 3 are worth a mention. The shot taken at MGM was for Judy Garland's 17th birthday on the set. I can't find where I got it now, and I can't find the image online. I'm so sorry I can't tell you more about it, but you can see her double, Bobby Cochet and Bert Lahr, immediately behind her. Margaret Hamilton's eating cake. Frank Morgan's clearly on the right edge. Why it's a collector's dream are those figurines on the table. As far as I know, they've yet to surface. But who knows, anything's possible. And below an earlier Dorothy, actress Dorothy Dwan in the 1925 Chadwick film of The Wizard of Oz is blowing out candles on her birthday cake. This image is a postcard and it turns up often enough. For my own most recent birthday, my Oz friend Mark Heilman posted this ruby slipper-topped cake iced in fondant on my Facebook page. I added it so I'd remember to tell you that fondant hardens to lasts forever, sort of a rock. So if you have a bakery-made Oz cake like this, you might be able to save a few bits and pieces of the decoration off of it as pieces of your collection. A last cake mention goes to these small figurines. You'll notice the names on the bases are in French. These favors are made to be baked into a cake, like the baby in a king cake at Mardi Gras, and it's considered a prize for the person who finds it in their slice. Before we go on to a couple of food advertising pieces, I needed to introduce William Wallace Denslow. He illustrated the original 1900 publication of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz and shared the copyright with author L. Frank Baum. His illustrating career included a great deal of advertising, so while you won't see Oz themes in his pieces, some Oz collectors, including me, seek to find it. This Life magazine cover was his last work, published posthumously in June of 1915. But for many years, the steady work of advertising paid his bills. He led a fascinating life, and I could talk about him all day long, but I'm trying to stay on topic. So here you go, food. Sunny Jim was a character used to promote a wheat cereal. Denslow illustrated a booklet that followed Sunny Jim around the world to see the cereal in various nations. I happen to have an illustrated envelope in which it was mailed to consumers. The cereal and characters outlasted Denslow's time as their illustrator, so I have a number of other Sunny Jim pieces too that I figure are at least inspired by his work, including buttons and cards, a figurine, even a stuffed fabric doll. These teddy bear bread postcards are another sample of food advertising from Denslow. My earliest impression of Oz cookies comes from Oz Club conventions at Castle Park, Michigan back in the 1970s. Edith Hollister would take normal cookie cutters, use some judicious trimming with a sharp knife, and hand paint cookies into Oz characters. They were fantastic. A woozy cookie might give you a blue mouth for a while, but it was worth it. And another member, I think it was Jerome Mindell, made these cookie cutters to stamp out the Oz logo. Lots of collectors at the time snapped them up, so they occasionally surface when private collections are sold. But for most collectors, Oz and cookies, even blue, isn't tied to Edith's Woozy, but to Cookie Monster's appearance in The Cookie of Oz. This Sesame Street parody that aired in 2014 had Cookie Monster following the chocolate chip road to find the Cookie of Oz. I haven't actually determined that it's out there on a DVD, but I'm guessing it is, and you can add it to your Oz collection. This tin of cookies can also find a home in your Oz collection. It was produced in 1989 as a 50th anniversary product. So should you find a tin with cookies still in it, I would not recommend eating them. I am resisting the urge to add cookie jars to this program. Like plates and cake stands and teapots, there are just so many. If you are interested in collecting them, expect those made by Star Jars. They are mostly character busts, to be among the higher priced. My favorite was designed by Rick Wisecarver and produced in 1995. Each is hand-painted and supposed to be numbered. One source tells me only 20 of these were made, that only 20 of these were sold, and a 21st was given to Ted Turner. My own is marked not in production, rather than having a number, so it may be a prototype. So enough of cookies and donuts and peanut butter already. How about meat and dairy? That's a food category, so surely there's something Oz. In the world of really old advertising, there are soup ads illustrated by Denslow. He also did a series of Thanksgiving postcards that featured turkeys and geese. And the Oz Meats Company in Salina, Kansas likely produced some ephemera that might turn up. Sorry, no, I don't know what the Oz Clocks link took you to. They currently specialized in dog foods and pet treat enhancers, and the Oz Clocks link is no longer on the website. But I saved this one since the first time I saw the company come up, and I find that great buffalo shot really super Kansas, so I keep using it. Cows, they count, right? Meat, dairy. Most of you have seen and may have the collectible little cow figurines. The set first appeared life-sized in downtown Kansas City. Years later, I found Dorothy again. After being put out to pasture, she wound up in the window at Planters Seed Company in Kansas City's River Market area. Next up, McDonald's Happy Meals. The fast food chain included miniature Madame Alexander Wizard of Oz dolls in 2007. They were a hit, so they returned. In 2008, the set was a bit more detailed, and the paper bags were now replaced with sturdier packaging. They were a hit, so they returned. In 2013, for the 75th MGM anniversary, I'm sure there was packaging, and some people on all three promotions gathered up and saved the in-store signage, but I can't even find where I stashed my set of these little figurines, so I grabbed the picture off of a website. Another meat promotion dated back to that cartoon, Off to See the Wizard. There was a lot of promotion for this cartoon, and Armor Meats was one of those that really went all out. They made a magic kit available as a mail-in offer. In-store advertising was hard to miss with large signs and ads on all of their meat products. The magic kit itself was a collection of simple sleight-of-hand type tricks that any child could easily master. Meanwhile, at Big Boy, a burger chain, Big Boy and his companions set off to see The Magician of Zoz in a parody comic. The only date I find on this is 1977 by the back-page crossword puzzle, so either the comic itself or the puzzle dates back to 1977. I particularly appreciated that in this comic, the wizard calls on a girl named Jane in the audience once Big Boy and his friends have arrived to see the show. And now we come to the egg. Many of you know the importance of Bellina's eggs in Oz, either from reading Ozma of Oz or watching the Disney film Return to Oz. But another important egg item for your collection is a VHS or DVD copy of the one Oz film dominated by an egg. The Ted Eschba 1933 cartoon, the first time the black and white of Kansas transforms to full color in Oz, features a plot inexplicably built upon an egg. A small egg is laid. It abruptly grows to extraordinary size. The Tin Man and Scarecrow are, for some reason, compelled to try and break it open. When they finally manage to crack the egg, there's a tiny chick revealed inside, which is promptly picked up by the mother hen as all of our Oz characters gather round the giant eggshell piece to rock mother and chick. Yeah, that was The Wizard of Oz in 1933. Okay, you could also stick to hand-decorated eggs made to represent the story's character. There are Fabergé-style eggs with ruby slipper pendant inside, and egg-shaped figurines from the Franklin Mint Collectibles Company that feature scenes from the MGM film. I didn't buy the MGM eggs. I think there are 6 of them. And with the Fabergé egg, I'm showing you this picture because Oz is actually written on the egg. I found a similar design with ruby slippers inside, but it didn't say Oz on the outside, so I'm not sure. This one might be the only one that was specifically designed to be Oz. Arguably the most significant Dairy Oz promotion dates to the release of the MGM film, when Seal Test released a set of 6 character glasses filled with cottage cheese, the Fab Four, the 2 witches. Toto and the Wizard were also made, but so few samples have surfaced that they're believed to have been used internally and not ever sold in stores. There was also an Oz ice cream product at the time, if you're willing to consider the result of an add water and stir mix to be something called ice cream. I've only seen a sample of the box in Lewis Carroll's collection, although I think both he and Todd Machen had a can of the companion fudge frosting. There have been more recent Oz ice creams spotted for collectors. For the 50th anniversary of MGM, Dairy Queen had a Wizard of Oz promotion with a coupon-filled calendar. Ben & Jerry had Goodbye Yellow Brickle Road. Baskin-Robbins used the Tin Man to advertise their Tin Roof flavor. And Mayfield had a Yellow Brick Road limited edition. That one was in 2015. Their mascot, Maggie the Cow, stepped up to portray Dorothy. Let's move on to beverages, because it's not all dewdrops and liquid courage, although Oz party hosts have a great time dreaming up recipes for melted witch punch and Oz-themed cocktails. You can collect advertising that uses Oz characters, and advertising featuring the artwork of Oz illustrator W.W. Denslow, this piece for Duffy's Apple Juice. I've never seen anything about this Oz beverage except for this advertisement. It was available in Japan with the release of Return to Oz in 1985. There are a few bottled products to be found, including cherry-flavored cola that used the Golden Records cover as its label. A little 45 record cover is what they used on that. I don't know when Rocket Fizz first put this on the market, but I believe I bought mine around 2015, and it is still available. This Wiz of Oz cherry julep drink, on the other hand, is vintage and rare. Wicked did a promotion with Sierra Mist, and while I'm on the topic of Wicked, they also did a See's Candy promotion featuring the Wicked logo on small boxes of chocolates. In addition to all of the wines made by the Oz Winery in Wamego, Kansas, there are a couple wines worth mentioning. They include the Coppola Director's Collection, 2015 Merlot. I ordered a case of this at the time, and I can tell you the graphics on the box are terrific. They're these labels, but blown up really large. I have not ordered a case of Scarecrow. This award-winning Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon far exceeds my budget. The oldest vintage I found dates to 2003, and the priciest I came up with was just under $2,000 a bottle. Those of us on more of a beer budget can look for Emerald City Ale. Our Oz Club convention in 2012 took us to Holland, Michigan, where a side trip to the New Holland Brewery introduced us to Golden Cap Ale. In the Kansas City area, Flying Monkey beers have been found on tap and stocked in our liquor stores in a variety of flavors. I've not covered any fruits or vegetables yet, probably because in my collection at least it is the smallest of categories. While Oz has vegetable characters, including our favorite Giant Pumpkinhead, collecting fruit and vegetable related Oz products in this great outside world is a bit of a challenge. Pumpkins, hand carved with Oz designs, are one option, assuming you work with artificial pumpkins. You don't want to have them spoil, as Jack's own head does on occasion. This is a wonderful old fruit label in our world. Apparently, a honeydew melon company created their produce with this Oz art. I doubt the silver slipper label was meant to echo Oz, but if I ran across it, I'd likely want to have it. And while my daughter is here depriving Hattie, Romy, and Falco of some treat, I draw your attention to that bowl of blood oranges on the island. She and I had just picked those in Bob and Claire Baum's backyard. The Robert Baum line of Baum's descendants had orange groves around Pomona, California. I've never seen any ephemera from the company, but if you stumble across something to do with bombs and oranges, pick it up. Here's a veggie many of you know. The Veggie Tales Children Animated Stories did a Wizard of Oz parody. There's a little Tinman toy of Larry the Cucumber in costume. Since potatoes are a vegetable, I'm adding the Mr. Potato Head figures to this section of my talk. A Wicked Witch is also available, and though there is no Good Witch design, according to that stamp in the upper corner, the set is Good Witch approved. That's it. Like I said, not a lot of fruits and veggies in the Oz collector's world. You may have to resort to fighting apple tree figurines to do this food group justice. Snacks. There's some overlap here with the baked category, but I'll show you a few. Whitman's Chocolates, boxed candy with an Oz theme in 1926. And while I have to avoid collectible plates or we'd be here all day, this oversized platter with green and gold highlights is one of two featuring artwork from Denslow's Mother Goose. It's really large. I thought when I got it I was getting a little like a dessert plate, and then it came in a box that was designed to ship one of those little round outdoor backyard grills. So, it's, I don't know, bigger than a steering wheel anyway. This candy mold used artwork from the 1967 Off to See the Wizard cartoon. It's hard to read. The mold for the characters, the four characters, is sideways versus the lion, who is level as this photo is shot. But it's been embossed with Mardi Gras, so the candy was likely made to be a parade or carnival favor. Fairy tale cookies with a scarecrow theme. I know nothing about this that I can't glean from trying to read this out of focus image. But you can see Tin Man, Lion, and Scarecrow on the top right corner, a dial to spin, and a game path to follow. That top copy may indicate the cookies themselves were in the shapes of Tin Woodsman's scarecrows and friendly lions. The lavish Jelly Belly display was built in 2014 to launch the 75th anniversary Oz Candy Bar by Dillon's. That's a package of them in the upper left. The upper right are older wrapped chocolates, Bunnies of Oz, with Oz character bunnies on the side graphics. Lower left are tins of lollipops and gummy candies from 1989. And the Tin Man chocolate rocks are just one of many products made by the Tin Man Confection Company. And I added Jerry Marin with his lollipop in the middle just because it's Jerry Marin with his lollipop. Here are some other Tin Man products. I believe they encountered a rights issue with their use and depiction of the Tin Man, but for a while I saw these products at my local Costco. There's a YouTube video review showing the chocolate rocks in detail if you're interested. The Wizard of Oz Pez candies were introduced for collectors for the MGM film's 70th anniversary, while the marshmallow treats in different varieties were older. If you find any of these now, they are likely, like mine, hard as rocks, petrified marshmallows. I've seen a different packaging style with line art of individual characters, but somehow those ones got by me. These candies are a bit harder for us to find in the US, only because they're from Russia. Each candy eggs again, I should have put these in the egg section. Anyway, it's a hollow foil-wrapped chocolate egg. The child breaks it open to find a plastic capsule inside that holds tiny snap-together parts to make Oz characters, or in this case, Magic Land characters, as the art and story are aligned with Alexander Volkov's retelling of The Wizard of Oz, illustrated by Leonid Vladimirsky. A similar set of Kinder Eggs was produced in Japan, too. These were sold in individual boxes. You don't know until you crack open the toy inside if you've discovered a character from Oz or from the Three Little Pigs. Lots of Oz trading cards have been made, but the only ones that actually had bubblegum inside were made to promote Return to Oz. Come to think of it, there was a Return to Oz promotion with C&H Sugar where there were little stickers inside the bags of sugar back in 1985. This candy emerald ring was a Comic-Con favor promoting Sci-Fi Channel's production of Tinman. And we are almost at the end of this journey through Edible Oz, but I didn't want to leave you here. I'd rather leave you here with a reminder that Oz-themed restaurants are to be found. Their advertising and menus often include Oz art and are fun collectibles. Here's an old Tin Man diner with what appears to be a chalked yellow brick road and a newer Tin Man grill food truck. The Ruby Slipper was first opened as a coffee shop in New Orleans and now has multiple locations. The best-known Oz eateries may be those that were inside the MGM Grand Hotel when it first opened in Las Vegas. The original Wizard of Oz theme led to the Oz Buffet and the Studio Cafe. Both had Oz themes, and I'm quite sure I'm not the only customer who left with the menus and placemats. Although I had to buy the server jacket. I couldn't sneak one of those out in my purse. And if you're looking for a starting place with collectible Oz foods, you can start right here. Oz cookbooks are a thing. Cooking in Oz is my favorite because it's a collection of recipes solicited from people associated with Oz, and it tells all their fun stories with lots of photos and fascinating trivia. A Taste of Wicked is similar in that it's recipes from cast and crew of the stage musical, but it's a simpler spiral-bound book of photocopied pages, released as a fundraiser. The little book in the middle by Monica Bailey was the first Oz cookbook I had. It uses Denslow's artwork and recipe names to create an Oz theme. The blue one on the left similarly uses MGM images for an Oz theme. Cora's Country Cookbook is tucked in there at Dorothy's feet. Cora was the Maxwell House Coffee spokesperson, played by Margaret Hamilton, our beloved Wicked Witch of the West. And that little Kitchen Wizard cookbook completes this handful. It has recipes that are tied to several different children's classic stories. And that is it. I am done. Thank you for following along with me as I've shared all things edible about Oz.